And we are now live, and this is episode 3. So hopefully everybody can hear us, and everybody has their microphone on, and we can all talk now.
Hello, everyone.
So hopefully everybody can hear us. If you don't hear us, and if you did not hear the music, let us know. If you see some type of glitch, also let us know so we can fix everything. And since this is episode 3, this is what, a new record?
A new record.
High score.
Oh, new high score.
New high score.
New high score. Episode 3.
Yes.
Where we are going to answer a huge question. But before we answer that huge question, we have to discuss one important topic before we get started.
Just one?
Just one. One right now. Seth, what are you drinking?
Oh, I am having a Float Your Boat Saison Ale. We stumbled upon this. I know, isn't it wonderful? Again,
Do you hold your pinky out when you drink it?
Let's find out. Yes. Yes, I do. So, we were just out running errands yesterday in this new, lovely state of ours, and stumbled upon Parkway Brewing. Has a beautiful patio, great service, lots of tremendous beers. Turns out on Thursdays they had a sale of 2 6-packs for $15 rather than 20 for 2. And so we got some Float Your Boat. I'm not going to read the description on it because it sounds even worse than what I'm saying, but it's delicious.
Okay.
It's got like just enough hops to make the rest of it taste really rich. So it's a good saison. How about you, John? What you got?
Well, I'm finishing up a Smirnoff Ice, and I'm going to follow that up with a Smirnoff Ice Red, White, and Berry limited edition one. We'll see how good that is. I haven't had one yet. I figured I'd save the original tasting for here.
Gonzo, permission to make jokes about 15-year-old girls.
Go ahead.
Are you a 15-year-old girl? Smirnoff Ice Berry? What is this? Come on, you're usually our Roman whiskey guy.
Oh, I got some apple whiskey too, but when I don't like beer in general, so I usually get Smirnoff Ice or something like that.
Okay.
Drink what you like, damn it! Don't listen to these haters.
Fine.
Gonzo.
Definitely going to start off with a good old shot of Maker's Mark. After that, I will be nursing a BB Vanilla Porter, which is always lovely and great. So I hope that everybody, even our listeners, had a really good week and a really good weekend. There's a lot of cool stuff that came out. I'm glad that everybody's safe. Everybody's happy. Hopefully all of our Gen Con family and friends are going to get home safe tonight, too. So let's drink to all the nerd stuff that happened this weekend.
Cheers.
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 Back some DT said he likes Smirnoff Ice, so he's a 15-year-old girl too.
I am far from a 15-year-old girl.
Legally, that's a good place to be.
You goddamn right.
So, bad people.
Hey, he's not wrong.
14. He's 15 next day. Good job, Maximum. So, we had a lot of cool stuff. Do y'all want to talk about the cool stuff that happened today, or you want to jump right into the questions?
I think we should get the cool stuff out of the way, because someone in the chat room really wants to hear us talk about a cool announcement from FFG, who really wants to have all of our money forever.
Okay. Let's hold off on that one, because I know we'll talk about that one quite a bit. Let's talk about, anybody see anything cool that came out from Gen Con besides Star Wars Legions?
Yes.
Go ahead, hit it, Seth.
Ooh. All right, so there's a company making a game called Celestial. I know nothing about the company, but I've seen what they're doing. And they're making 50 and 75 millimeter models of what I can only describe as Cthulhu-esque Japanime horror models. And they're designing these models apparently with rule sets for RPG games, for some tabletop games. They're not designed to be independent. They're designed to be put into other people's games. This is how I understand it. They are gorgeous. The quality of the models are great. I have no idea about the gameplay, but if I was playing a D&D session and somebody pulled out a deer-legged, multi-eyed, floating orb monster and said, "This appears in front of you," I might wet myself and just call it a day. Yeah, they look amazing. I know that's one of the things I'm definitely super excited about.
I saw tons and tons of new models. It's hard to start. The most recent one I saw was one that we actually shared from someone else, and that's the new Convergence caster, Orion, who looks pretty interesting.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I just shared that not too long ago.
I really like the look of those guys, even though I haven't got them. Yeah, and then, I mean, so many games I wait until... so many games don't have their own convention. We'll do all their cool seminars and stuff there. The Infinity did a big seminar there, new stuff coming out, a lot of cool new models and new promotional art, concept drawings. Lots of good stuff came out there. Legend of the Five Rings debuted there, and I think my buddy El Marshall got a case from our peeps in FFG because we're going to play the hell out of that.
I'm really interested in that too.
School.
Yeah, I'm interested to see how they do that because I remember when I wanted to play it, but no one else was doing it. But I like the Legend of the Five Rings universe. I love the RPG.
Oh yeah,
really good RPG. Owning all the books from the newest edition that came out, and I really want to know how the card game came out.
Yeah, I'm waiting to see it. I'm sure we'll be looking at it soon, and I'll give you guys a full report, of course.
Yeah,
excellent.
Gonzo, did you see anything that we didn't mention from Gen Con you want to talk about?
There's one I want to mention, but it'll be during one of our questions. Because it's to do with a anticipated game, or whatever. Twilight Imperium 4th is interesting, but I want to see what the big change is. I haven't seen a good review on what the changes is for it. Because
Jim Larson got a copy, so I'm sure he'll do it.
Yeah, I mean, I had a copy of it and I sold it, so I'd like to see what changes and stuff. Hopefully, it's a bit of smoother, quicker gameplay. Yeah, I don't know why John comes in and out, lagging every so often. We'll have to try to figure it out. You come in kind of stuttery, or lagging a bit.
It's probably internet being a touch crappy.
Yeah.
Apologies.
Other than that, I tried to keep an eye on everything, and it was just, everything's, I tried to keep people that were there, that were taking pictures, so we could have load up pictures for people that weren't there. Because I like seeing the cosplay, and I like seeing all the new stuff, and I hate not being there, because that would have been a really good thing. I could just load up everything into the internet.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, but if there's one to skip, and I hate to say it, this is the one, because this one, bad shit crazy, so many people there. Holy moly.
And we talked about a little bit on the pre-ramble, or maybe it was just us, but it's so expensive. Hotels are stupid expensive. Going there stupid expensive. Food. Everything. So it's like, I kind of want to go to Adepticon instead. So, I know that Arena Rex released 2 new models there, which was kind of cool. That's a game I wish would do a whole lot better.
Yeah.
That game's got some.
It's the right scale. I mean, it's skirmish scales. I mean.
Yeah, 6 models. That's all you can play with for most of the time. It's very quick, very easy to pick up, very fun. Rewards you for being aggressive. Other than that, I didn't get to see the Infinity stuff, which kind of bummed me out. I didn't get to see the Infinity junk.
When I find out who recorded it and put it on YouTube, I'll shoot you a link.
Yeah, we can update Facebook and stuff. Let's see. And then, of course, the big FFG announcement.
Yeah, absolutely. And this can go into part of the topic for today.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that was Star Wars Legions. Um, I have very mixed feelings about this.
Oh, really? Well, then you should start because I'm just gonna gush about how FFG wants all my money and I'm playing this game.
Okay, my thing is, I'm a huge Star Wars fan. Own a crap ton of Star Wars stuff. That's all I talk about. Love Star Wars. Love the ground battles. They're really cool. I think it was just another step in the Star Wars franchise because they've done, X-wing, then Armada, and now this. Um, and so, I think it's cool. I'd like to see it in action before I pick up anything, demo it, something of that nature, and then see, of course, who's all going to play it at our store locally. Um, I don't. I couldn't get a really good grasp on the models from the pictures people were taking. Some of them look kind of eh. Now they are supplied unpainted and unassembled, so you're going to have to
Hmm.
paint your own, which is not a big. It's actually not a bad deal.
And they are
Um,
bigger than the Imperial Assault models.
correct. Um, let's see. I'm wondering how it plays. 'Cause that's my big thing because you don't use tape measures. You got to use all their widgets. Plus, you have to use all their dice because they have custom dice.
Well, yeah, that's
Yeah.
FFG's thing. Custom
Yeah.
dice, counters, cards.
Yeah.
They've got a thing and they're sticking with it.
Yeah. Yeah. They've got everything. The custom dice, custom all this stuff. It looked like it kind of plays like all the other Star Wars franchise where you have your upgrade cards and all this other
Hmm.
stuff that you can play out. I'm kind of curious, like how terrain works into it, what terrain does. Is it just a line of sight blocking? What's the line of sight rules? How powerful are Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader?
Yeah,
Uh,
there's a lot of questions in it that we don't know, but I'm already slotting some savings away for getting that box set when it comes out because it's gonna be about $100, like a little under $100, and that's I'm willing to take a chance sight unseen on that and take a look.
yeah, I'm cautiously optimistic, to say the most, because I love Star Wars. FFG's done pretty good. I'm not 100% sold.
I don't think FFG's really made a bad game in a long, long time. They may not be your cup of tea, but nothing bad.
So, I mean, it optimistic, just not sure. How about that?
Fair enough. Seth, you've been awfully quiet. What do you think?
I keep thinking about this game and what I see, and the two things that jump out at me is that they're really vague about the rules and stuff that Gonzo sort of brought up. And the second thing I saw was um, the quality of the models that they had were really off. Um, One of the things that, for me, FFG has always really struggled with is the plastic that they use in their models actually doesn't take paint tremendously well. It's a bit soft, a bit rubbery. You lose a lot of detail. And I'm worried that they're using the same thing, even if they're going a little bit larger scale than Imperial Assault, and that's going to create issues with the molding process. Um, but I'm real tempted. Like seeing Vader sitting there force choking somebody, I was like, yeah, I don't. $100 is a lot to put in for a start. But if you're putting in the $100, I'm willing to let you start and let us know how it is.
Absolutely. Have you seen their Rune Wars game? The models from that yet?
I have.
So I think those are from a slightly different batch of plastic. So I have a feeling that's what they're aiming at. But
Okay.
I don't have any insider knowledge, so I could probably get some. Let me work the contracts.
All right, find out, because I am definitely very curious. Because if that is the kind of thing that they're really pushing better plastics and better models, FFG is actually poised in a place to start taking on, actually making a very big jump and being in with the big boys as far as model creation. That they've got the technology, they've got the know-how. It's just, are they going to make that leap?
Yeah, model wise, yeah. Because honestly, sales wise, they're already there.
Exactly.
I did look at some sales figures for our main topic, and it is surprising what comes up at the top sometimes.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I'm like with Seth. The models, I'm worried about. Everything else, I want to play it. I want to
Yeah.
see a demo. I want to see if I want to invest $100 into it or not. Because I don't want to invest $100 into it. Nobody else plays, and I'm just stuck with the $100 worth of models. Or,
You can
know,
send
go-
them to me. I'll take them off your hands.
I'll sell them to you. I'll just
You
mark
can
them
just
up.
send them to me.
No, I'll mark them up. You got to mark them up. So, other than that, I mean, like I said, cautiously optimistic. Hopefully it does really well. I'm sure they're going to do really well with it to begin with. I'm sure people are going to play it no matter what. So, I want to see more gameplay footage. Like how to
Yeah.
play, what the rules are, terrain rules. What kind of terrain do I have to bring?
Mhm.
Yeah, and with the FG game, I like that most of them are very. Once you get in, they're not that bad to keep up with your one faction. Now it might be kind of limited gameplay at first. Remember X when it first came out was kind of limited gameplay, but now there's so many ships, it's just batshit crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, you could probably find someone to split. All right, I'll take Imperials, you take Rebels. You know, type thing. And I'm sure they'll sell a starter set of dice. You know,
Yeah,
with it also, so you don't have to like share one set of dice. So they'll probably have. I mean, they're gonna do it right. I'm sure.
Yeah, I've no doubt. It's just a matter of if it's going to be your thing or not.
Yeah. Also, someone had mentioned, I think it was Congo mentioned the Fallout Wasteland game.
Mhm.
I just posted up a video of that before we got on there tonight, and I'm interested in it.
Yeah.
to
Yeah, I
see.
saved that video to my watch later to take a look at it when I get some time.
It'll be interesting to see how it goes. I'm hoping it is just a good, fun game. Don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, I'm kind of worried that it's going to take sort of the same slot as Dark Age, which is apparently picking up quite a bit.
Which is interesting that Dark Age has gained more ground because Wrath of Kings. I'm just so upset that isn't doing everything.
We had to talk about that. Me and one of the guys at the store were chatting and everything. He's upset also. I'm like, he says it's a good game. It should be doing better, but at least in our area, we're so GW centric that when people couldn't play fantasy anymore, they just were out completely rather than looking for the other fantasy game.
Yep.
You know, no Wrath of Kings, no, none of the other games. It was weird.
Yeah, it has me concerned because Wrath of King is a super solid game. They just aren't promoting it, and that
Yeah,
pretty much sucks.
it's tough.
Which now leads us into what we're going to talk about today.
Absolutely.
What are we going to talk about today?
I don't know. You're the one in charge of this one, not me.
Oh, God.
Well, I think we're talking about Chris Wells's question from our first week that we didn't get a chance to ask because it was quite a question.
It's true. Thank you, Chris.
Yes.
So, today's question is going to get into two aspects, and we've actually broken this out a little bit differently, Chris. So, your question was, let's go into new gamers and which systems to explore first, and then rate the game. So you want us to look at everything from the financial investment required to the ease of rule system, with the historical length of its following, the pitfalls of the gaming, and even the best food to eat with this game. So what we're going to do is break it up a little bit differently. We're going to look at some of the biggest games. We're going to look at many of those questions and start thinking about it in terms of what does it take to get into the game financially, what are the hurdles for building into the game, and then how much does it take to actually stay in the game, being part of the community, paying for the game as you go. Because we could all say it takes $50 to get into War Machine, and it takes about $3,000 to get back out.
Something like that.
Something like that.
So, what is our actual first question?
So, I think our first question is, if we're thinking about these games, which games for new gamers, actually for just anybody trying to get into the game, what are good games to get in because they're financially easy to get into? And, what games do we see that we're going to see some financial pitfalls?
I think I can go with two aspects from this. One aspect is I don't care how much you love a game, if you can't find someone to play it with, you're just not going to... it's a pitfall.
That's
Mhm.
sort of I put that in community a little bit later because I think that was
Yeah.
part of his question too.
Yeah, and I'm thinking
Yeah.
much more about like financial pitfalls. So, for example, I'll talk about a game that I have very fond memories of, which is the game Zombies! 5 exclamation points, so you know it's not well in the head. And this game is something that I've really enjoyed playing with a lot of different people. At the high school I used to teach at, we had a game club. And this was where I started teaching them about different types of models, different rules, how to make saves. Had very simple rules. Uh, Models were, they were fine.
Yeah.
Basically meeple. But the game cost $30. So to get in, that's all it took, and it changed quite a bit. But if you wanted more than just regular zombies, there were expansion sets for $15 or $20. And pretty quickly, you had $120 in zombies. So I think that's more what we're talking about as far as financial pitfalls.
Now, I went straight into spreadsheet rate all the games on this because that's where I was sitting in my chair this morning.
All right.
So to give you guys some time to sort out if you haven't already, I'll go through mine. And I used the big games as we know them. Then I looked at the last 2 quarters of top sales in games and added any games missing to that. So I ended up with 40K, Age of Sigmar, War Machine of Hordes, which I lumped together even though the sales guys lumped them separately, which is silly. Infinity, Malifaux, X-Wing, and then Star Wars Armada was big on the chart this past time, and Attack Wing was Star Trek Attack Wing was somehow big on the chart the end of last year. So I added those in. And really, rated 1 to 5, I found that Infinity is probably the best bang for your buck getting into, because the starter set is either the 2-person starter set or just the faction starter set is so good for early play. It's a lot of models you're going to use throughout. It's very playable, and starting off, you can really get good value for just adding another model to your force, doubly so because they're so small. Second was Malifaux for much the same reasons. Their 2-player set is not nearly as good, also not nearly as expensive, but still very good. And then their crew boxes are great for starting. Then came the trifecta of X-Wing, Armada, and Attack Wing, which are all pretty much the same thing when it comes to starters. You get not a lot of stuff to start with, but all the rules and accoutrements you need, and then the add-on ships are super cheap. War Machine of Hordes is next because the battle box is an amazing value, but that's only going to get you so far. But luckily, just a couple other add-ons, and you're playing at a decent level pretty quick. And as a shock to absolutely no one, 40K and Age of Sigmar came in dead last because though some of the new starter sets are inexpensively priced, you still need so much to get to a point where you can really feel like you're playing the game.
Yeah. I don't know much about some of the smaller games.
Mhm.
Because I know that like Wild West Exodus is starting to be an up and coming one. I don't know the price value of that. Weird Games, I don't know how they price their stuff, and I don't know what it takes to build those.
Fair.
So I can't comment on those. I can only comment on the few that I've played. Infinity, you get a lot of bang for your buck because you don't play with a lot of models, and they make some pretty good deals, package deals.
Mm-hmm.
Wrath of Kings, you could probably buy the entire faction of Wrath of Kings for maybe a couple of $100.
Mhm.
At that. And it's a really good game. It's just not promoted as much and not as done as much, which is really upsetting. What else? Guild Ball's not a bad one either. You can get a decent amount. I mean, you're only going to play with a certain amount of models because I said each faction is going to be a set sort of models, and that's it. And then you got, War Machine Hordes and 40K and Age of Sigmar. War Machine and Hordes, The biggest problem is you don't know what's going to be good from step to step lately. Recently, you're not going to say, "Oh, Jack Spam is really good," and then it changes up, and now Jack Spam isn't that great, even though it still is right now. It's the reason why some people were afraid to get into Ghost Fleet. Because it was a lot of money to buy into Ghost Fleet, and then now that they got into it, they're afraid that something's going to happen to it, or everybody's going to be able to tech against it eventually, and then it's going to be, can't bring Ghost Fleet because everybody's got a Ghost Fleet drop. But there's a good, decent amount of money to pay for War Machine and Hordes, and a lot of people buy more than one army nowadays. Of course, I'm not sure on Age of Sigmar stuff how expensive it is, but I'm sure it's just as expensive as 40k.
Absolutely.
Or more, because you have to have more models.
Similar, actually, but
yeah,
fair.
yeah. Within the same realm, they're the most expensive to get into, in my opinion, because you're paying a lot of money per model.
Yep.
And it's just starting off, and so they've got a lot of new stuff coming out.
I also suspect from having looked just at... I was at the game store today, and I was looking at just the prices of stuff. And I could be totally wrong, but it also felt like GW's pricing structure was based on how much would it cost to build an entire army, not how many models were you buying.
That's their old one. Their new one's a little better.
Okay.
And some of the early Age of Sigmar stuff is going to be priced the old way rather than the new way.
Okay.
So it's very weird.
Yeah, because I was trying to figure out why things were priced the way that they were.
We've been trying that for years.
Oh.
So Seth, what do you think about basically starting price for models for games?
As far as which one is where, I mean...
Well, yeah, or your opinion based on the games that you've taken a look at.
Sure. So based on the ones I've looked at, what I've noticed, and I'm going to take sort of a different slant than you guys, is that when I think about the games that are easiest to get into, if it's a low model count game, in almost every situation, that's going to be the cheapest one to go for. But that doesn't mean that if it's a low model count army. So when I was looking at like the 40k stuff, Space Marines were costing somewhere between $5 and $10 a model for a box of 3 or 5. And that's kind of crazy compared to what I was seeing with a lot of the other games. Guild Ball, for instance, I've got, I think, the entire faction for Hunters. Actually won it last year at JohnCon. And when I priced it out, it was still only $70 in models. That's not bad at all.
No, not bad at all.
So I think that's one of the things to consider, especially if you're thinking about getting into something new. I don't mind dropping $50 on a model for a game, and if I only have to do it twice, that's great. Yeah, so it's kind of all over the place. No clear rating system from me.
That's fair. I think I'm the only one crazy enough to do the full rating system because what the heck. I did also do it for how much it takes to, let's just say, play the game at a normal level where you come into the game shop and just pick up games. And I'll go bottom up again. It's very similar to the first rating where 40k and Sigmar is bottom because you need so many models.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be spending money. Next came the trifecta of X-Wing Armada and Attack Wing, not because of the number of models you need, but because if you want to play their games, they have the FFG disease of upgrades. Mm-hmm. There are guys who are like, I don't play Rebels, but I had to buy 3 of this ship because I wanted the upgrades. And while I understand it's an insidious way to make your models, it does jack the price up quite a bit. For a game that otherwise would be relatively cheap. If it wasn't for that, those guys would be, the top winners. War Machine of Hordes is pretty much next because you do get pretty good value for your models, but like Gonzo said, you never know when the metas are going to change, and you just need to back up and punt and get a new list. The way the meta changes, it's not just changing your caster; it's changing the whole list sometimes. Because just changing your caster, I mean, that would be super easy. In fact, we don't really cover this so much, but that's one of the great points of War Machine is you can really change a portion of how your army plays just by changing the caster. Then next was Malifaux, which since you need so many less models and a meta shift is unlikely to hurt you as much, it rated a little bit higher. And they have the same thing where a new master will change the way you play quite a bit for good value. Actually, sorry, Infinity was before that because I mean their models are a little expensive, and you do need 300 points, and you do need 2 lists to play in a tournament or a good come and play feature, but still very good. And then Malifaux was higher up because the models are so damn cheap. So really, like I said, not really surprising. They all pretty much rate similar to where they started, with I would say the exception of War Machine and Malifaux being easier after you get in to keep in than a lot of the others.
Well, I mean, going back to that, this last weekend I had a friend of mine had to do some demos at a local convention, and he was doing a demo of War Machine and Hordes. And, of course, that's just 2 battle box against each other, quick and easy, describe the system, blah, blah, blah. And the guy was like, oh, so you only play with 3 models and stuff? And I was like, no.
No.
And it goes to the thing, that demo really doesn't represent how a standard type game would be played. Because, yeah, it shows the mechanics, but doesn't show the true nature of the game, that you've got 2 to 3 units, 7 to 8 jacks, whatever. And solos and everything. So I think that's also something that people need to look at whenever they're playing a demo of a game, going, okay, I have 3 models. Is this all I'm going to need to play a standard points value game? And you're like, no, you're going to need a lot more models because of X, Y, and Z. You're not you're paying at the lowest point value.
But that still keeps it pretty middle of the road overall, because it's not as bad as buying stuff you're not going to use just because you need the upgrade cards, or buying a crap ton of models you need a crap ton of models. It is, I mean, it's a decent value overall.
Yeah, I'm just saying. Yeah, I think the process of having to buy a bunch of ships to get the upgrade cards, to me, is a pretty bum thing to do. They should just sell a pack, and that way you don't have to worry about it. But yeah, that's a pretty crappy thing.
It would hurt their sales too much at this point.
Oh yeah, but I mean, I think, like I said, when you look at the game money-wise, when you do a demo or whatever, ask them how much more you have to buy into it, because that's always a good question. Because it's, like I said, this guy wanted to play a small skirmish game, and he saw War Machine and Hordes and saw that 3 models, and I could go have fun with it. And we're like, no, it's a 75-point game, and you're going to be spending this, and this, and this, and this, which is not a good salesman per se, but for the game company, but it is also truthful to the player, because you don't want them going, oh, I can only have to buy 3 models and I'm done, and then you find out you have a whole lot more.
I'll talk on this more later, because it actually factors into later stuff too. Seth, you got any other thoughts on price to play a game at a normal level?
No, I've got thoughts about price for other things.
Oh,
we'll get there.
Okay. I didn't cover that. Oh my god. I went by his questions. Do you want to cover that now, or you want to do that later?
No, because it comes into play with some of the other stuff we're going to talk about. Yeah.
Gotcha. Okay, so he wanted to know about the ease of rules system, and hey, shock, it's on my spreadsheet. So unshockingly, Infinity loses out on this, because Infinity is complicated as crap. With an asterisk of that, you can play it at a less complicated level, but if you're using the hackers and all the stuff, it is a pretty complicated and dense rules. You will not pick it up and be like, oh yeah, I totally understand this game in, a couple games. No, that shit is not going to happen. Next up, I am sorry to say, is actually War Machine and Hordes, because it does have a very steep learning curve to get in. The basics are not terrible, but it's just steeper than a lot of the other games out there. This one's actually really, really a weird scale, because the jump between Infinity to War Machine and Hordes, even though I lump them right next to each other, is actually huge. I mean, technically, it should be like from 1 to 3. On a 10-point scale, it'd be like 1 to 4, or something stupid like that. But I'm only doing a 5-point scale. Then next, I put Malifaux and Armada. Both those games are pretty easy to figure out, but have some complicated points to them that you're going to have to wrap your head around. It'll take you a couple games to get there. But they're perfectly fine. And then X-Wing and Attack Wing are functionally the same game, so they both get the 4 and are really easy to jump in and play immediately. You'll play a couple games and you'll be like, I know how this works. I just need to get the strategy of, know when to hold them, know when to fold them.
Mhm.
And then 40k and Age of Sigmar, unshockingly, are easy as crap. But to be fair, they have designed to be easy. You will pick that up, you will play a game, and you'll be like, I understand how all this works fairly well. You run forward, you roll dice to kill stuff, stuff dies. Bob's your uncle.
Yeah, I'll agree with you on, especially like I said, I've never played Age of Sigmar, but it's a simple rule set just like 40k. I need my weapon skills this, I got to roll that to hit you. And this. Building armies is probably the most complicated part of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And that's about it.
But I don't feel like that's any more complicated for, honestly, any of those games. I feel like all those games, it's pretty equally complicated to build an army.
Yeah. I will definitely agree with you that Infinity is the hardest game to pick up. Because there's still rules that you could play a year and not know how to do hacking because nobody does hacking.
It's so complicated. But if you could do hacking, you can do so much. It's cool stuff. It's like everyone else is playing a fighter in D&D, and you're playing the wizard. You're like, look at all this shit I can do.
Yeah. But I mean, it is very complicated. I mean, there's a reason why a lot of people are turned off by Infinity, and I think that's one of the biggest reasons is the rules are still too complicated.
And
That's definitely the reason I did not get in.
Yeah.
I had some people who were playing. Somebody actually got me the Operation Ice Storm box set, which is good. I like it in theory, but I was reading through the rules and I was just like, I am an English teacher and I don't know what the hell is happening.
Yeah.
Which is fair.
See, I will agree with you on War Machine and Hordes on three things. It's easy to learn the rules. It's complicated to master.
Well, there is a lot of rules interaction in it, though, that is more complicated than you'd think.
Correct. And that's why I see my master. The basic rules is, I got a weapon skill of 6 to hit a 10. I got to roll 2d6. You know, that's a simple part. It's the mastering part to find out. I have to worry about this rule. Worry about that rule. Worry about that rule. That rule trumps my rule. Type thing.
And like I said, the jump between the low and that is huge.
Yes.
It's huger than the jump from that to any other level.
Yeah, that one I'll agree with. Kings of War, or not Kings of War, Wrath of Kings. Which, like I said,
Kings of War is a 5. It's super easy.
Yeah. I would put it in the middle ground of learning the rules. A little bit easier than War Machine and Hordes because it's not as complicated, but it does have a really good system, an easy system to go through. Arena Rex. Arena Rex is a super easy game system. Pretty much you hit on a 4+. Everybody hits on a 4+. Everybody does everything on a 4+. But choosing how to do it and move in combat around.
It's your demo game.
Yeah. It's super, super easy to learn, but it's got a lot of tricks and a lot of things you can do based on your attack and damage grid. Guild Ball, I'd rate up there with like War Machine and Hordes.
Yeah.
Because it's easy to figure out. I need a 3 to hit you, and you got one armor, so I take 1 die away. But then you've got the damage grids, or the damage tracker the hit tracker.
Yeah.
And then you got to figure out, okay, do I want to score? Do I want to do this? Do I want to do that? And there's just a ton of rules that contradict each other. I can hit you, but my rule says that you do 2x damage instead of 1x damage. Okay. So I give it right around War Machine and Hordes. And for a low model count, that's kind of interesting to think about. It's got those complicated rules.
Yeah, exactly. If you look at the major competitor, Blood Bowl, not Dread Bowl. Dread Bowl's not actually a thing that people play. Sorry. Blood Bowl's way up there at a 4 or something. It's pretty easy to play.
Yeah.
But,
so, I mean, that's not a bad thing. Some people don't mind it. It's a lot of... But I think the easier the game is, the less rules, fighting, and complications you have to go through.
Mm-hmm.
And that makes the game a whole lot more fun.
Absolutely.
And I think that's a big factor on a lot of things. Because how many people remember arguing in War Machine and Hordes before we had pre-measuring? Yeah. Now that pre-measure...
For those of you listening, I raised my hand.
That was a big thing. And
Yeah,
now that it's gone,
pre-measure.
now it's
Would you like to note the funniness that the only a couple games on this list don't allow pre-measuring? Actually, I think the only one that really doesn't allow pre-measuring is Infinity. X-Wing and Armada, you can kind of pre-measure with.
Yeah. For a decent amount.
And the rest of the games you absolutely can. So
Yeah.
funny how that's still one of the more complicated.
Yep.
Correlation or random?
Seth, what you got on this subject?
I mean, I think you guys have covered a lot of it. What I think is really important to look at is when we're thinking about the ease of the game, it should also be ease of explaining. Because Infinity, like even Congo's saying, like, Infinity is not for the faint of heart.
No.
Yeah, if you can't explain the rule in a sentence or two, it's probably more complex. I also have what I call the five rule limit. If I can't explain to you in five sentences, 5 rules, how to begin the game, it's probably more complicated than you realize. And I think that's where we go back to the demo games of War Machine Hordes. Yeah, we can start explaining that, but then there's levels of complexity and insanity. But that comes a lot with the strategy of it, at least some of it, and models and all the extra rules. It's one of the things that I worry about sometimes when I look at what the game companies are doing, where they're like, I don't know what to do next, let's make a brand new rule.
Yeah. They forgot the first rule. KISS. Keep it simple, stupid.
Yep.
Yeah, they forgot that they're stupid.
Exactly.
No, wait, sorry, wrong point.
No. You're fine.
You're right.
That's you're not far wrong. So, Chris's next question was historically large following and longevity of systems existence. I didn't really do longevity because at this point I feel like it would take a major catastrophe for most of the games we're talking about to fail.
Mm-hmm.
But I split the community like the dollar amount. I split the community into the community when you're starting and the community when you're playing.
Mm-hmm.
Bottom of the barrel is the Armada community, and don't anyone take any offense at anything I'm about to say. I just want to say about this. This is based off our experience and our local groups when we talk about community. We can't comment on the global community because it may be amazing. In fact, it seems like it's amazing. But locally, Armada has functionally no community. Online, it has a decent community, but I don't see like random websites doing articles on Armada. You know, I cruise a bunch of stuff, and I don't see like just articles popping up. And honestly, I don't see a lot of... Most of the help I see online for people starting Armada is buy all these ships so you can play a full game. So I rated them lowest. Attack Wing is next. I'll tie with Infinity because Infinity, the starting community, wants to play their full games, and they don't like playing lower levels. And honestly, most people starting rules, even Infinity themselves, once you get past the battle box, they tell you just go to 300 points. So there's a lot of support for that. And Attack Wing, there's no community nearby. But when I do see the handful of guys that play Attack Wing, they are always good about showing what's going on and getting people to play. So there's a chance there. And Age of Sigmar falls into that locally too, because I don't see a lot about playing low levels of Age of Sigmar, and I don't see a lot of guys locally. So, I mean, but there you can play it, and there is some community. I see some stuff occasionally online for getting into it, but I don't see a lot of people. Next is this is controversial. No one take any offense. Is War Machine Hordes, and I've seen it. Is that once you get past Battle Box, people are like, just get to 75, and I feel like it's a problem with our community that we should probably address. There are other points values. Seth is an advocate of Rumble, which is a good idea. We need to start making more 50-point lists, more 50-point events. Let people jump into it. We do get a lot of journeymans, but I find that a lot of people here or there don't necessarily want to. Plus, our community is drying up locally, so I actually rated this higher because of the general War Machine community and journeymans and stuff. At least they've got support. Next is 40k and Malifaux, because 40k players, you're going to find them everywhere, and they're always helpful to get someone in. The power level thing is custom made for people getting into the game who just bought some random models and don't want to worry about points. You can find guys everywhere, and they're usually pretty open to getting people in and playing. And the Malifaux community, at least locally, have been good about getting people in and playing at lower points values. But also it has the advantage of being a lower model count game, so you can easily drop a couple models, not cripple the way your crew works, and play. And then top dog for starting, it's got to be X-Wing, because those guys will just throw some ships down and play at a moment's notice. A lot of them. So they've done good. I see a lot of articles on how to start out. Plus, they have the inherent advantage of it's not expensive to get a full X-Wing list. At $15 a ship, generally speaking, you're going to get a full X-Wing list in under $100. Nice. So you don't even spend too much time down there. So that's my thought on starting. Do you want me to follow with the rest of the community notes, or you want to take some notes here, Gonzo?
No, I pretty much agree with you on a lot of stuff. I mean, except for Infinity's dead around here. So, it's bigger a lot of other places. Like I said, Wrath of Kings is dead. There's a lot of, and I don't want to say dead as in nothing's coming out for them. It's just, there are so many mini games out there that it's really hard to play all the cool ones. After Adepticon, a lot of us bought into Arena Rex. Nobody plays now. And I'm like, ugh.
Yeah, absolutely. And I want to put a note in here that something Maximum DT mentioned. Bella Souls does some Armada posts, which is cool. Attack Wing took a year off, which jives with what I've seen. They're releasing a new box set, new starter set, and releasing some new updated repaints of models, which is good because their models, this doesn't come into this rating, but their models are fucking balls.
Yeah.
They're out of scale. They're not painted. They're not painted terribly, but they're not painted good. When you compare that with X-Wing, I'm like, sure, X-Wing maybe not quite as good of a game overall, but X-Wing models are just so much better. So much better. So that's good to see that they're doing something. It may have hurt them because I know a couple stores pretty much put their Attack Wing on discount shelves. So, but we'll see. Seth, you got any thoughts on community for starting games?
I actually do.
Excellent.
So I am going to just disagree with you about the War Machine Hordes community.
Okay.
So I'm looking at two different metas because I've just come from Chicago to Virginia. And in Chicago, at the two big stores right around there, Dice Dojo and Games Plus, I never saw anything but people bringing in whatever they could play. So definitely they had a lot of steamrollers. They had a lot of push for competitive play. But if your competitive play was a 25-point list, somebody would play you. It did take reaching out beforehand through Facebook or through the store website, but you could do it. On top of it, there were several much smaller gaming stores just opening as I was leaving. Greenfire Games is one of them. The Gaming Goat had several stores. And they actually were specializing in those smaller games, bringing in people who had 35, 50 points. I think that some people are starting to realize that because it is expensive to get into the game, you need to bring people in where they can get there. Getting to the first 20 points in War Machine or Hordes just means your first unit and attachment. And if you're adding that on, that's a nice place to be to a battle box. So it probably does vary a lot by community and does vary based on who's putting in what thought and energy. But some people are pushing, and I like that.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I found that we're all talking about 75 nowadays, and I feel like we could do a little talk about other points levels, but we'll need to work on that community wise. But back to the topic at hand, my number vomit on the community playing wise is a little bit different actually. Attack Wing got the lowest because I haven't seen those guys in months. I don't see anyone around here. Apparently it is still played, but none of the stores I've gone to recently have I ever seen any play. Armada and Age of Sigmar are next because I see about as many games of both, which is weird. But I also feel like those are games, in fact all three of those are games that you can play plenty fine at home. So, you don't necessarily need to come out to the game store. You got your buddy, you go in the basement, you play some games. It's super cool. Next is actually Infinity. We have a decent-sized Infinity community, but it is, no offense, guys, if any of you are listening, fucking horrible. It's all tournament. There are guys who are win at all costs. It has been infected by the tournament disease in a hardcore way, and it is not good for getting into a game. Now, I feel that the greater Infinity community is probably not like that, but I'm not plugged in enough to them right now to really say anything. I did raise that a little bit from what I would have, just because I know that they are, in general, better. Next, I got a three-way tie between the 40K, Malifaux, and X-Wing communities. They're all very good, but they are all also a bit win at all costs, but it's not as much of a negative with those games. You know, those guys seem to be more helpful. Their lists are a little degenerate at points, where it's just spam something that's really good, but that happens in every game. But they are more willing to play outside the box and do crazy stuff from what I have seen. And as a shock to no one, I rate the War Machine and Hordes community as best, because when you get up to actually playing level where you've got all the models in the world, or all the models you could use, I don't have any problems at all finding a game, seeing guys doing cool stuff. Heck, I've even heard people playing Colossal Wrestling and shit. So there's a lot of good stuff going on with that. It's really good to see. Gonzo, what do you think?
I'm pretty much with you on everything, except for ours shift a little bit. No attack wing. I haven't seen attack wing ever played. Armada every once in a blue moon. I mean, Guild Ball's pretty decent at our around our area. 40K is up there, but War Machine and Hordes takes it. We have no Infinity, so War Machine and Horde takes all the games. There's always at least 2 or 3 of those games going on at a time. It comprises most of the talk. X-Wing is played and Guild Ball's played, but not on a regular. So, I mean, War Machine and Horde is pretty much the community right now. Like I said, there's some small games that are fought every once in a while, but nothing huge.
To put an exclamation point on the War Machine Hordes getting the 5 for me. Locally, we don't have a huge War Machine and Hordes community right now, but I know how good the War Machine and Hordes community is because I'm plugged into them, and they deserve the 5 as a whole, because I know I could go to another city, walk to where it plays War Machine and Hordes, and if I didn't want to play a super tournament list, I would find someone who didn't want to play super tournament level and not have a problem.
Yeah, I mean, if you go to pretty much any store and everybody says, hey, I don't have 75 points, can we play at 35 or 50? Most people will go, yeah, okay, no problem. But other than that, it's a lot of tournament stuff. Everybody's trying to, play for tournaments. But for the most part, the community will play whatever. Maximum DT's got a question about Rune Wars. Never even seen it played. I even got a free copy of it when I went into Adepticon.
So I'll throw mine. I've seen some games played. Pretty much the same guy demoing it on one side, and then other people coming in on the other side and playing. About 1, maybe 2 games a week, so it's going a little bit. L. Marshall's got 2 copies of it. We just haven't really had a chance to break it out and play it because it's tough to break into with your own IP because there's so many games out there.
Yeah.
Seth, what do you think about the greater community on a whole when it comes to various games?
Like you guys, my experience with the War Machine Hordes community has been incredibly positive. At Chicago, and I think I'm going to focus on that because I've only been to the FLGS here twice. In Chicago, Miniature Night was actually the same night for everybody who played on a table. So we saw everything from Star Wars Attack Wing and Star Trek Attack Wing. We saw Armada playing upstairs. Age of Sigmar came and went. War Machine was always in effect. And I don't know how to separate that community because the folks who were playing their games were so happy to show everybody else what they were doing and to ask about what everyone else was doing. It was like a little nerdy Nirvana. Everybody was in. So, yeah, it was a really special place, and I definitely miss it. It's one of the things that I've been missing a lot. And so, big shout out to the Dice Dojo and the quality that they've got there. So, if anybody ever has a chance to go play a game there, go. The folks are great. So, yeah, whether people were playing Infinity or not, I just saw people who were happy to play. Now, at the same time, the majority of people played multiple games. So, you'd see the Attack Wing guys play Armada together, even if when they were playing Attack Wing, some were Star Trek, some were Star Wars. You'd see them come and play Hordes a little bit. Bolt Action was really popular there, as was Flames of War. So people would play huge Flames of War games, and you'd be like, where did all the War Machine go? And they're like, oh, they're over there at the 10-foot-long table firing tanks at each other. So I just think if you've got a place where people can have fun enjoying what they do, they will.
Awesome. Oh,
What's our next question? Because we got just a little bit of time before we
Well,
have
I'm
to
gonna
go to
go to
the media
the-
section.
I'm gonna go to the easy one real quick, and then we'll throw some thoughts. I actually feel like the last part of this could be a whole topic, but we'll see. He says, "Don't forget gamer food: cheese to tacos, cheese sticks, or pizza, and which will keep you fueled for the long haul." I would say your gamer fuel should be whatever is local to you going to the store. You know, it's a microcosm. If you keep what's local around, it'll always be there for you to get stuff. Whether it be McDonald's, Wendy's, the local grocery store, whatever's right near there, try and give them some business too. I mean, most places nowadays, even the fast food places, have something that's reasonably approaching healthy that you can get if that's a worry for you. Or if the store has stuff, try and buy some drinks and stuff there occasionally. It helps.
Mm-hmm.
Gonzo, what you think?
I'm with you. Just bring whatever. Doesn't matter. Just bring whatever.
Yeah, the one store has no outside food allowed, which is fine. So I just get a couple snacks there. They got the peanut butter crackers from Lance, and I'm like, that's good enough to keep me going till I leave. That and a Monster or Gatorade, depending on my mood, and I'm good to go.
Yep.
Seth, what do you think?
Very much the same place that I come from. In Chicago, we got to bring whatever we wanted in, so there was a Euro place around the corner. I definitely hurt myself there a few times. But the new place is no outside food or drinks, so today I bought some chips. I got myself a Dr. Pepper, because it turns out I'm in the home of Dr. Pepper. Who knew? But yeah, get the local. I think that's a great point.
So as it occurs to me that most of you may not know what Seth was talking about, when he says Euro, he means what us folks here in the Glen Burnie call a gyro.
Yes.
So if I go down to Annapolis and go to the Greeks and I don't say Euro, they will kick my ass.
You're terrible people. You don't.
They
don't
are.
know
Look,
what a Euro is?
I know what a Euro is. Of course I do. The Greeks in Annapolis taught me.
All right.
It's, when I order it from the takeout places, though, if I say Euro, they have no fucking idea what I'm talking about.
Yep.
It's a true story. I can't make that up.
I believe you.
thought we did have a question on upcoming games. What are we looking forward to? Is that one of them?
That is one of them. I think we kind of covered that in the the Gen Con spoiler. But if you got any other you want to give a shout out to,
Oh, I
real
did.
quick,
Yeah, because I was going to hold off on this one. Because it's actually a board game, but it's a
Oh,
board game
shit.
with miniatures.
Okay.
I'm actually really looking forward, and their Kickstarter is going to be starting up in a couple of weeks. Is the Wonder, the Cult of Barnacle Bay? I know a few people that are working on that. It's a dungeon crawler, but and I know this sounds stupid because people think board games they have to be a group of friends, but I'm really liking board games where you can play by yourself. Because sometimes you just need. I don't want to play with a bunch of friends, or I'm just at home and I just need to relax. Your food ninja come in.
I had a food ninja come in, deliver popcorn, and a dog pinched my butt. Nice.
But
I was not ready for that.
I have been actually really interested in watching them on Facebook because I'm on their group and looking at their models. And one of our friends, or my friend at least, Elizabeth and Jonathan Berkeley's. They got a hyphen last name. Not sure what, but
Berkeley Bradford.
Yes. She's a really good painter. She's been painting their miniatures really, really well. So it makes me even want them even more. even though they're going to become. I'm sure they're going to be unpainted. But it's a dungeon crawler type, where you lay down tiles and go through the dungeon and kill things and stuff like that. And I like those games. And I like that it's also could be a single player game, which is it's fun because sometimes I just don't want to have 5 people over to just sit down and just play a game when I don't have something else to do.
Sure.
And I did talk to them for a little bit, and they said they'd be willing to come onto the podcast and talk about their game.
Cool.
And stuff. So I was looking for a date that we could have them on. So, and since we're going to cover miniatures from all aspects, board games with miniatures are becoming the pretty much hot new ticket thing. That if you have a board game and it's not like a miniature type game, most people aren't going to get into it unless it's really, really good.
I guess on that subject, we could get Devil Squid on when his game actually finally releases. Been in production for, looking at my wrist, a long time.
But I mean, there's been a lot of games. I mean, I bought Dark Souls board game. Haven't had a chance to play it, but I bought it, and it's a single player type game, and it's got incredible miniatures. They've miniatures for those games have stepped up a bit. It isn't the old, blobs. They're actually pretty decent miniatures.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I will do a podcast on the Dark Souls ones. No problem.
There you go. Awesome.
If someone wants to know about it. I love Dark Souls as a video game because it's a pain in the ass and hard as shit. So that was the reason why I wanted it. And
It's not a game for the faint of heart.
No. But I like games like that. Games that are hard as shit. But I did talk to them, and they said that they would be willing to come on the podcast either as a group or a team or an individual and talk about their game, and I'm sure they wouldn't mind some free press since their Kickstarter is going to be starting up in a little bit. And they're good people, too. They had a really good Gen Con, so big shout-out to them. It's nice to see, I don't want to say smaller, but you understand what I'm saying. Not big corporate people doing really good in a game system and stuff.
Yeah, independent guys doing well.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So the last part of his question was pitfalls of gaming, which we could do a whole podcast on because they are very many. But I would say we can each probably give you one quick advice, and I would say talk to the veterans and ask them what they would have done different when they started, and or storage solutions, or even hobby ideas. They can help you with all of that. The veterans are your resource. Use them.
Yep. Jumping off of that, watch out for any company that sells its own hobby materials, because there are some companies out there that make really great stuff, and then there's companies out there who make stuff that is terrible, but it's what you're used to seeing on the box art, so you go for it, even though it's low quality and high price. No names, but I have definitely spent some more money than I want to think about trying to match what someone else had done, rather than just figure out how to do it. And sort of in the same vein, watch out for anyone who is giving advice that sounds like it's beyond where you are. We were talking to a kid today who's just getting into War Machine. He was thinking about just starting to paint his models, and people were trying to sell him $150 in paints. And the guy who used to be the local press ganger walked over, said, "Here's one brush, you're going to use this to put on the paint. Here's a second brush, you're going to hang on to that in case something happens. Here's primer, here's the one color you should start with. Talk to me next week." And it's like, yeah, that's not a terrible way to start.
Nope.
Yeah.
No, I definitely go with you on both things. Definitely talk to your local people that are playing the game that you want to get into and go, "Hey, I really want to buy Cosset Woodsman. Okay, are you going to play with them?" "Yeah." "No, you won't. Because you're never going to fill them unless you just want to, depending on what it is." They'll know what's, I don't want to say good, but what you're going to use. Especially if you're playing in a faction that doesn't use a lot of beasts, that uses a lot of infantry. Not going to use a lot of big ships. I'm going to use, a lot of, small models. Find out, especially if you choose your faction. Hey, what are like the essentials of having that faction? What are the things I should have? What casters? What generals? Which things should I have right there? That's the best thing.
But Gonzo, I like how Man of Wars look.
Correct. And pretty soon, everybody's going to be buying Man of Wars pretty soon because when the Theme Force comes out.
Oh, good.
And I have a feeling that's going to happen. And I'm already pre-bought into that. I already got those all ready and waiting. So, yeah. Definitely talk to your locals, especially if you're going to get into tournament scenes. Because there's going to be models in a tournament scene that you're never going to play with.
Yeah.
You're going to go, like, I just want to play tournaments, get ready for tournaments, I like the tournament scene. And they're going to go, okay, then forget about XYZ models, only buy ABC.
Yeah, and there are models that you're going to play only because you like them, because they're not quite as good for what you're doing, or maybe not quite good right now in general. Don't be afraid to buy them, but know full well that they may sit on your shelf and look pretty.
Yeah. So,
Hashtag Man of Wars.
Yeah, Man of Wars, 100%.
So
especially
thank
about
you, Chris
hobby
Wells.
stuff for that, too. Going back to what Seth said. There's only a certain few colors you need to buy to get them going, and that's pretty much what it is you just need to buy a certain few hobby stuff. You don't need the entire line of paints. You just need, especially if you're going for a theme and you know the color scheme, buy just that.
Indeed. So thank you, Chris Wells, for that very excessive question. Next time I see you, I owe you a cheesesteak. I don't know how to bribe him.
All right, so I guess it's time for the media section. Ready? Here we go.
I'm ready. I actually want to start it with a shot for Dre Lewis, who passed today.
Oh, yep.
And I'll give a shout out. There's a lot of people who passed, but him and then Sonny Langham, who was in 48 Hours and Predator, along with other movies, passed earlier this week. So,
Salute to them.
indeed. Gonzo, I hear you watched a whole ton, so I should start so we can get out of the way so you can just ramble on for a long, long time.
Okay.
I watched 2 movies. One you won't hear about until you patrons hear my next solo podcast. If you want to vote on the name, go on Twitter at John O. Spencer and vote and throw a name my way. Maybe I'll like it, maybe I won't. But I need a name because co-host Warner isn't going to work anymore. I watched the Thor: The Dark World for that. But in general, I watched Inner Space today because it came to Netflix for free. And damn it, I check every month to see what comes out for free on Netflix and if I have to watch it or not. And Inner Space is just too good of fun to not watch. It is one of those movies I saw a ton when I was a kid. And never all the way through, because that was sort of how cable worked back in the day. You come down, turn on, like, oh, look, freaking Inner Space is on. I'll continue to watch it. The whole idea of Inner Space is, what's his name? Quaid.
Dennis?
Dennis.
Dennis Quaid, yes. I want to say Douglas Quaid, but that's the character from Total Recall. So Dennis Quaid is a Air Force pilot who gets into a test program where they're going to miniaturize his pod and inject it into a rabbit just to test out some scientific stuff. You know, miniaturization, does it work? Can they interface with the animal and make him see through his eyes and hear through his ears? But bad guys attack, criminals attack, wanting the technology. So the main scientist runs and ends up injecting it into this bumbling assistant Safeway manager, played by Martin Short, into him. And hilarity ensues as he tries to both get the keep it safe because he's got the guy in front of him, which has part of the miniaturization technology. So the idea is it takes 2 chips to do it, one to miniaturize, but then you have to have a second one in the miniaturized vehicle in order to make it large again. So they're going after him for that. They've got the one, so he needs to both stay away from them to keep it safe, but also get the other one back before Dennis Quaid's character runs out of air and dies. It's got a young Meg Ryan as Dennis Quaid and kind of Martin Short's love interest as a reporter. Is pretty cool. A lot of the who's who of 80s, you're like, oh, I recognize that guy, I recognize that guy in it. Very comedy orientated, very funny. Has some fun action scenes. Robert Picardo playing a Spanish cowboy is absolutely crazy and usually hilarious. It's a very fun movie overall. It even has some fun character growth for Martin Short's character, Jack Putter. Overall, very fun. As I still do the shots of Kraken scale, I would give it about 2 shots of Kraken. I mean, it gets slow at points, a little weird, a little dated because, hey, 1987, that was a while ago. Like 30 years. There are kids who don't know 1987. It scares me. But it is dated for that. But overall, pretty cool. And definitely worth a watch, especially since Netflix for free.
Yeah, I remember I saw that not too long ago too, just because I saw it was on Netflix. I was like, oh, I haven't seen this forever.
Yeah, it holds up pretty well. I mean, it's you younger folks, parts of it can be like, what the hell? But overall, not bad.
Yeah.
I think we should let Seth get in before you go crazy there, Gonzo.
What?
Yep. So mine's pretty easy. I've begun The Defenders. I have not finished The Defenders. And all I'm going to say is Iron Fist is the worst thing about The Defenders. Actor, character, story. I'm excited about to see where it goes. I hope that it ends in a good place.
I'm so sad because I love Iron Fist so much.
Yeah, I feel like it's Iron Fist written by somebody who had Iron Fist described to them but never did any of the research. Either that or Iron Fist is written by the director's 13-year-old niece, Tammy, who really liked the Twilight books.
That
Both of those
scares
things
me.
that is accurate?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't seen it yet. I honestly, Netflix is difficult because the roomie likes to watch Netflix and it's only on the TV or her computer.
Got it.
And so I can watch it on TV. So if she's downstairs doing something TV-ish, I can't watch it. So I need to get more time. I need to get in, start with Daredevil season 1 and just get going.
The nice thing is that the rest of it, yeah?
Yeah, I watched the entire series in one sitting.
Okay.
I felt that it was a little short.
Okay.
I agree with you on Iron Fist. You just want him to, like, shut up. And I hate that, too, because he's a really cool character. Had a good ending. It was good. I don't say it was their greatest one. I still think Daredevil season 1 is their best one by far of all the Marvel stuff. But it was good. It was a good nerd time. Had no problem with it.
All right, Gonzo.
All right, let's start off with this one. I think we can go. We can say spoilers on this because it's been long enough. If you haven't seen Rogue One, shame on you.
It's on Netflix for free, for Christ's sakes.
Yeah, we're gonna go with spoilers. Spent time with my good friend Erica this week, and she'd never seen Rogue One. She hadn't even seen any of the new Star Wars stuff. I says, oh well, Rogue One's on. Let's go ahead and watch that and stuff. And she wanted to know what the timeline was, and told her the timeline, and we went with it. And she's watching it, and then she's like, "What? What? He's dead." And then he's dying. That's not good. That's not what. And so I'm grinning from ear to ear, knowing what's coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, if you haven't watched Rogue One, tough shit. Everybody dies. Every good guy dies, except for the ones that escape that aren't even part of the story from the beginning. Everyone dies, and she's like sitting there, jaw dropped, and like, "This is sad. This is horrible." And I'm like, "Yeah, but this is a good Star Wars movie. This is a good Star Wars story." And then it came to the Darth Vader scene, and then Princess Leia, and her mouth drops again, and she's like, "This was incredible," because it goes exactly where the next episode starts up. And I says, "Yeah, that's what really, really, really makes this movie great. It's not your goody-goody Star Wars movie. It's the war, shit sucks, but it flashes back to the originals." So it was really interesting to see that from her perspective, and about her, blah, blah, blah. Learning that everybody fucking dies. So it was just something interesting. Since we've all seen it, we don't need to rehash it. Watched a Netflix movie called Naked, which is it's one of the Wayans brothers. And it's a kind of a ripoff of Groundhog Day. This guy wakes up in an elevator naked and has to relive his day over and over and over. to get it right. The plot is that he has to get his wedding correct and right for him and his soon-to-be bride, or he has to repeat it all over again. It had some funny scenes in it. It was okay. It's
So look,
just
for a Wayans brother, okay, these days is amazing.
yeah. I mean, it wasn't shot bad. It wasn't horrible. You just knew what was coming, and you're just like, okay. It's a rom-com, so you got to go with that. So I mean, I would say probably 2 shots to maybe 3 shots Kraken, depending on how much you can stand a Wayne's brother in a movie. But it had its moments. But you could see everything coming. Next movie I saw was the new Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle episode 2 or whatever, Coming Out of the Shadows or whatever.
Yeah, Out of the Shadows. Yeah.
Out of the Shadows. Holy shit, was this a big pile of steaming shit.
This is my shocked face.
You can tell it was a Michael Bay movie because no less than 30 seconds into the movie, there's huge car explosions and explosions going off like crazy or whatever. So you're just like, okay, we're up for the same crap. The turtles are stupid. They don't represent what the turtles are. They don't represent who the turtles... It doesn't represent anything. It's just a money grab. And you can tell it is. Graphics-wise, cool graphics. But April O'Neil is not April O'Neil. I mean, nothing works. It is complete and utter crap.
So you're saying it's worse than the first one?
Yeah. Because you can tell that this was a money grab. And they were like, oh, Michael Bay, just go ahead and do this.
Actually, it's not Michael Bay, as funny as that is. He's just a producer on it. He's actually not the director.
But you understand what I'm saying. You can see he had his hand on it.
Which is funny because I feel like if Michael Bay was director of these, they would probably have been overall better.
Probably. But I mean, it was just I just couldn't stand it. It irked the crap out of me. I was like, I'm glad I'm doing something while I'm doing this.
If you love the Turtles from back in your childhood, don't. Just don't. I watched the first one. It was not terrible, but it was definitely not good. There's so many better movies out there to watch. And so many better to make fun of. It was just like, they don't give you a lot of material with this.
It was horrible. I wouldn't even drink Kraken. I would just rather go do something else. Type thing. And then did another flashback. Bill and Ted and Bill and Ted 2 were on. And so I watched those. And you know what's funny? Is even for how old they are, they still hold up. They still make me laugh, and they still are fun to watch.
I like 2 better than 1.
Death is pretty damn funny.
Hey, Melvin, to me.
Yeah. And since we have 3 coming out soon, because they're working on 3.
Theoretically.
But I was amazed at how well it stood up because... And it's just nostalgia for me because I saw these when I was, a kid. And they're still funny as shit and still fun to watch. They're still humorous. They're still, yeah, that was funny, And quoting the lines from it. So, I mean, it was really surprising. If you're not from that generation, you could probably watch this and go, wow, that was weird. Type thing. But I'm not even giving Kraken shots for that because that was just there. That's just there. That's just reminiscing. I did watch Sing, which was the cartoon about singing animals. Which, it was a cute movie. Definitely a kid's movie. Definitely very cutesy. Stories, feel-good movie. Make yourself feel good. Become, love everybody for who they are. So on and so forth. And, I could see how kids would like it. I mean, it wasn't my cup of tea, but I mean, I'm a teacher, and I teach young kids, so I watch all the kids' stuff, and it was all right. It was funny because I'm watching it, and I hear the voices, and I go, oh, that's so-and-so, oh, that's so-and-so, oh, that's so-and-so. Or Erica was like, is that Matthew McConaughey? I'm like, yep, that's Matthew McConaughey. So, I mean, maybe 1 shot of Kraken, 2 shots if you're really, really not into kid stuff, but I mean, it wasn't bad. It was interesting. What else? I watched Lilo and Stitch today, which is
Wow.
still a great movie to this day. Still awesome. Don't
Oh,
have any problems with that movie whatsoever. Still got great lines. Still relevant. Uh, what's funny is when I was watching it, it came back to the old saying that Wonder Woman was the first movie to have a uh, strong female lead, and I was like, well, what about this little girl? What about her sister
Mhm.
and stuff? And I was like, it just kind of went back and forth in my head while I was watching the movie, and I just kind of laughed to myself.
it wasn't even because I mean you realize you had the original Buffy movie too.
Yes. So I mean, it wasn't bad. I mean, Lilo and Stitch is still a great movie, still fun.
Hmm.
Stitch is still hilarious. The lines are still funny. So no shots cracking for that for me because it's just still a good one.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
I watched the new Netflix movie What Happened to Monday, which is a futuristic movie about where people are only allowed to have one child. And if you have more than one child, that child's taken away and cryogenically frozen until the world's a better place. But this guy has 7 kids, and he names them Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Um, then I got to thinking that it was interesting to watch because the lady that played all those people were the same person.
Oh,
So they had multiple shots where all the different characters were dressed up differently. Monday and Tuesday dressed up differently. Wednesday, but they had to all play the same part when they went out in the open. Has William Defoe in it, great as usual. Um, it was interesting. You could kind of see where everything was going to go, so it wasn't like a big surprise. You knew things were happening, but it was really good. The lady that plays the children, she had a lot of work ahead of her to play 7 different characters, and whoever did all the shots and the FX to have all these different characters in the same screen and same scene was really cool, really neat. I recommend it. It'll be a good sit down. Maybe like 2 shots of Kraken. If that thing's not your thing, but I mean, it was good. No problem with it. A really good take on future stuff that's going on in the world. So I recommend it. And it's on Netflix, so can't go wrong with it. And then, as a recommendation from Minoth John, I watched What We Do in the Shadows.
okay. Yeah, I remember him
Yes.
recommending that.
Yeah, and I watched Eric and I watched that, and that shit was funny. If you like British style comedy and stupid style comedy and just things that just go outrageous and things that just go quirky, you're gonna love this movie because it really because the movie is based on what if there was a reality TV show based in a house where vampires are real. And the vampires try to be the coolest, badass vampires in the world, but they're most the bumbling, stupid, idiot, wannabe vampires there could be in the entire world. And so they do everything wrong. They do everything stupid. It reminded me of. Do you remember when it was on? It was on MTV when I was around. The Young Ones.
Hmm.
Yeah, it reminded me of that. Watching the Young Ones because it was so funny and so stupid. Um, and the characters were all different. One vampire, you know, was a Nazi vampire, so he had to relive what was it like to be a vampire, then be a Nazi, and then have to live through the war and have to find his life and not be a Nazi anymore. One was like a Nosferatu that had been alive for like 8,000 years, and the Nosferatu look. They actually talk about the sparkling in there
Oh,
and the Twilight thing. Um, One's a modern day. They talk about they just talk about different aspects from the whole vampire genre, about having to kill people and like they nonchalantly about it. And like one of the scenes, the guy's like the proper guy. He's like, guys, if you're gonna eat and drink the blood of somebody and kill them, make sure you lay down some newspaper or a tarp before you do it. on the red sofa. You go, mean the white sofa? No, I mean the red sofa now. And I mean, it's just stuff like that. Just silly things. It was really good. It's on Amazon for free. I highly recommend it. I know it was kind of funny listening to Erica going, this is some of the stupidest shit in the world, but it's funny. So it's stupid funny. It's played out very easy. I would give it one shot at Kraken, two if it's not your type of comedy, but it was definitely a lot of fun.
Fair enough.
So there's my movies, which I'll probably have a whole lot more next week because I have one more week off.
Wow.
Other than that, I know we did say that we were going to say who the guest for next week is going to be, and I do have a yes and a we are going to have a guest, and the guest that we have, and I guess I have lined up, he has to just 100% make sure I haven't given us 100%, and it'll be you two because I will be out of town.
Yep.
Dallas Kemp has agreed to come on our show next Sunday and talk about painting and all that good fun stuff. So,
Dallas.
Abracadallas! Hashtag Abracadallas. So he will be with us next weekend. And if for some reason he can't be, we have someone, I'm sure Seth can line someone else up.
I have someone who has requested to come on, who would be an excellent guest. So if they don't come on next week, they will be on shortly thereafter.
Okay.
Boom.
So
Yep.
I had talked to Dallas. Dallas is a longtime friend of mine. Stayed at his house during lock and load. Really nice guy. Loves the community. Comes from the community too. So I mean, he used to be a press ganger. So on and so forth. So I mean, he's really good to have. We have to get some questions still cleared by Privateer Press. So other than that, we're going to keep our fingers crossed. Dallas, I'm sure, would love to be here. It's just the time zone, and like I said, so we don't have 100%. So I'm looking forward to that. I will make sure that everything runs smooth before I have to disappear for the day. Because I'm going out of town for the weekend.
Have fun.
Play
Indeed.
some games. Other than that, guys, I think that's another podcast in the can.
It
Well,
is.
I got one last thing, though.
Oh, wait.
All right, so Patreon members, those of you at the 15 level, correct? Right? Gonzo?
Yes, sorry, I was drinking.
Yes, okay, that's the thing we do. So if those of you at the 15 level are in the raffle for a model that I'm painting, I am currently in the process of painting up the first model we're raffling away, and it is Duke Leto Railthorn from the IKRPG line. We're going for a slightly more distinguished Duke Leto, but I'm also painting it up to the same level that I would if I was going to put it in for competition to see what I can do with this guy. So, if you would like to win him, go ahead and jump into the Patreon, see what you can do.
Also, to talk about the Patreon, we really appreciate that everybody that stick with it. This has actually become... We've actually had to spend some decent amount of money to make sure everything goes and run properly. We have not been charging for a few of the things because we've been working the bugs out. I don't think it would be proper to charge you for certain things when we're having problems with the episodes or getting things straightened out. I think that was the best thing. It's just fair. To me, it's honest. I'm not going to charge you for an episode where half the audio cut out or videos started cutting out big time or whatever while we work our bugs out and get back in our seat because this is new to us. So if you haven't been charged, that's the reason why. We will be putting stuff in shortly and beaming that stuff in. So we're going to have some stuff to get going. So with that, I'm Gonzo. Hope y'all enjoyed having a good time. There's Seth eating paint still.
Tastes like frostbite.
So next week we'll definitely be painting stuff. And then there's John, which he is my analytic person. So
Apparently.
you are my numbers
I did
cruncher.
numbers.
You're my numbers guy. So with that, I want to tell everybody, have a safe week. Take care of each other and make sure you look after everyone. Bye.